Hi, this video is all about COMIRB and how to get through our IRB process. It is the multiple institutional review board because it covers the Denver campus, the Anschutz campus, and there are several community partners and organizations that use this IRB as well. First of all, IRB is just some kind of a review board, and the people who make up this committee are professionals and lay people, and their job is to review proposals to make sure that we're adhering to federal standards and ethical standards, and really just they're trying to protect the rights of being a human and really protect the participants that are in these studies from a very strict ethical perspective. There are three categories of review. Exempt means the study has absolutely no risk to participants and it does not require a full board review. Typically, this is pre-collected data, de-identified data, truly anonymous surveys. Those tend to fall into this group. Typically, it takes 2 to 4 weeks to get approval. Expedited is where most of our studies fall in social sciences. This is minimal risk and is rapidly reviewed by a few reviewers and not the entire board. Typically, this is adult participants, not sensitive subjects. These are confidential surveys, and it also takes about 2 to 4 weeks. The full board review means that every member are all going to review it. They're going to debate it. It's going to be a whole big thing at their board meetings. This is more than minimal risk. Typically, if you are directly interacting with children and minors, this is going to be a full board review. Very sensitive topics can be vulnerable populations, tend to be a full board review. Vulnerable populations can be all kinds of different things. It doesn't just have to be children. It could be adults with disabilities. It could be older adults in nursing homes, any population that could be taken advantage of, that are really looking to make sure they're not taken advantage of. And then, of course, a lot of the medical studies fall under full board review. This can take 3 months. It's not an easy process to get through a full board review. IRB are looking for very specific things. First of all is the idea of do no harm, be a good human, protect other humans, and the idea of risk. They really want to minimize the risk. But there are some studies that are high risk to the participants, and that doesn't mean that you're not going to get approval. They're looking at this risk to benefit ratio. For example, if you are working with terminal cancer patients and there is no treatment out there and you have this idea of a treatment, the risk of the participants dying quickly is already in place. They have terminal cancer. So if they are in your study and there's a potential for a longer life or even a treatment that works, then the benefit to the risk is a little bit different. That's an extreme case. They're still looking at the same concepts within social sciences as well. So is the risk that you are looking at worth the benefit of the knowledge that we're going to gain? They want to make sure that the participant selection is fair. So they're going to ask you a lot of questions about how are you finding participants? Who are you asking? Why are you asking them? Are you including everyone? And if you are not including everyone, then why? Are there specific groups that are not included and that you are segregating, and why are you doing it that way? They also want to know how you have access to these participants. Are you getting their phone numbers? Are you getting their emails? Are you knocking on their doors? Are you sending out letters? Who is giving you access? Are you getting access through a partner, through an organization that collects all this information? How much information are you going to have about these participants? They will be very concerned with the consent process. So you are doing research on human subjects. Even if you are surveying a human, that is human subjects research. So how are you getting consent? How are you making sure that they understand that their responses are being used for research? They have a lot of templates on how to do this. And then, of course, you need documentation. So how are you documenting? Where are you keeping the documents? How is all that going to work? It's going to be in a locked cabinet, P.S. And, of course, data safety and monitoring is a big one that they will ask you about that your committees and the proposal may not be as concerned about. So where are you storing this data? Is it in the cloud? Is it on your computer? Is it a locked computer? Is it a password protected computer? Who will have access to it? How will you monitor the access? Will it be de-identified when you hand it to somebody else? What information will you have? And of course, that leads to the idea if they want to protect people's privacy and their confidentiality, and you need to ensure that as the principal investigator. And finally, they will have additional protection if they are minors and other vulnerable populations. So their website can be a little bit confusing, so I'm going to kind of walk you through and give you some tips within this. On the top left part of the page, you're going to see this gray box. This is kind of a good go-to. You want to be on the home page in order to get this blue box to show up. We're going to go to forms, and I'm going to show you a couple of the key forms that you need to consider. When you scroll almost all the way down the entire page, that's where you get to actually log into the portal to submit things. You need to complete city training. That is a bunch of different training, just making sure that you understand your responsibility ethically as a researcher. If you have done this at another university, it shows you how to put that in as well. These are only good for 3 years, and then you get to redo them. This is also really good information on how to get started and submission guides. Another information about submissions and training is right here. So let's look at this really quick, not that one. So this is the home page. And again, there's that gray box. And you have to scroll almost all the way down the page to get to the login information. Underneath forms, there we go. The Smart PDF application, this is a really big one that we will talk about. Make sure that you download it on your computer and open it with Adobe. Do not open it through the internet, and Macs, you're going to have problems with this one if a certain plugin is added. So just be really careful with this one, Adobe only, and preferably a PC. Scrolling down, the protocol template is going to be your other friend. So this is exactly how they want essentially the proposal to look. So if you've written a proposal for your thesis or dissertation or a grant or something else, then you need to make that translate into their template. And of course it gives you guidelines, and these guidelines have examples within them. These are also your consent templates. You can have without HIPAA, which I think most social sciences are, but if you are asking any health-related information, then you need to be using a different consent form. This is the one that we can use. And these are also really good, the social behavioral template. It walks you through very specifically what they want you to say. Not every section will be applicable to your project, and you can delete that, and that's fine. But this is what they want it to look like. Let's go back here. And I do want to let you know that if it is your first time logging into this portal, you're going to need a POI number. So you have to go to this website. It's impossible to find on their website, so just screenshot this, pause, whatever you need to do, type it in, and that will give you access. The documents that they are looking for. So we're going to get to a spot in a few minutes where it says upload the documents. I want to go through those right now. First of all, they need a cover letter, where you will include your protocol number, your name, your title, and then you're going to say, thank you for reviewing my study. Here's a list of all the documents that are included in this submission. Please name them, logical names that describe what you're doing, and then match the file upload that you are including. First of all, you're going to have that Smart PDF. That's going to be your application. You're going to have a protocol, which is your proposal that has all the detailed information about your methods. You're going to have a consent form, possibly more than one. If you are doing interviews and a survey, you need 2 consent forms. They want to know how you're collecting data and how you are accessing participants. So if you're doing a survey or an interview or a focus group, your protocols for focus groups and interviews and all of your surveys should be included in this proposal. In these documents. They want to see the exact survey that you're sending out. They want to see the email that you are going to send. They want to see the invitations to participate. How are you contacting them? What are you going to say? What does that look like? They want it as detailed as possible. If you're in a phone conversation, it better be a script of I'm going to say this exactly. And then if you are working with a partner, potentially you have a memorandum of understanding, an MOU. If you have that already in place, I highly recommend including it, and that just gives you a little bit more credibility that they know that the partner and group that you're working with agrees that they are working with you. P.S. If you have an IRB through a school district or something else that you also have, you can include that here as well if it happens to be done. A lot of times school districts will want you to finish the COMIRB IRB and then show that you have approval before they give you approval. So you may not have that, but it's possible that you do. When you log in, this is the screen you're going to see. You are going to open up proposals, not projects. So you're going to open up this proposals. It's going to look like this. You're going to click on create new proposal, and it's going to walk you through this whole big questionnaire. When you come back, if you save this and you're not through submitting it, because you're probably not going to submit it all at the same time, you're going to come back in and you're going to have this screen with nothing in it, and you're going to panic thinking that you've lost your proposal. You haven't. You have to click on this show list, and then your proposal will appear. There's a hint. These are the two help buttons that you need to get through any of this. If you have any questions about why am I clicking this and what does this say, and how would I explain this, then these are your help buttons, not the main one. It's going to start with a bunch of different questions that are going to lead you to this final concept. Your name, you are the PI, you're the principal investigator. You're creating a new proposal. You're probably not doing a revision. If you need to do a revision, that would be here. It'll say proposal type, and then you have to select a sponsor. Your sponsor should be your school. So in this case, the School of Ed at UCD. Tracking number, they do that. Proposal title, this should be the title of your thesis or dissertation or grant. Make everything as similar and the same and consistent as you possibly can. But you can shorten it. If you have a really long title, you can shorten it here. Project start and end dates. You are not allowed to start until you get permission from IRB. So keep that start date in mind. And then end date, I highly recommend giving yourself at least 3 extra months just in case anything happens. If this end date comes up and you are not done with the completed study, you get to do this whole thing again asking for an extension. So just give yourself 3 to 6 months after. If you finish early, that's great, but you don't want to have to resubmit. Budget period, for most of us, we don't have budgets. If it is a grant that you're working on, then maybe you do, and that's just the number of budget periods. The default is 2. It's going to continue all of these questions. The deadline type can be a little bit confusing. For most of our studies, I would say that it's the department or the PI, and we need it immediately. If this is a grant proposal that you're just trying to get the IRB done and you don't have the grant yet, but you just want to make sure that you have it, then there's an option for that that's not urgent. Deadline date, when do you want this by? They get to still pick and get it to you when they can, but you can say, I really need this by May 15th. No awardees, but yes, you are using human subjects. Probably no animals, maybe a training grant, but probably not, and then these will default based on your sponsor. Budget setup, this one's a little bit weird. Program type is probably organized research. For most of us, maybe other, but some of them won't really fit for what we're doing. So I would say organized research. And then you just say, is the majority of the research conducted on UCD campus or off? Probably off campus. As social sciences, we tend to go into fields and we're not necessarily studying campus. Once you get through all of the setup questions, it is now going to take you to this new screen, and we have a bunch of different options right through here. The first one is personnel. So your personnel will be you. You are going to be 100% effort, probably. If this is your thesis or dissertation, 100% of your time is working on this. You do need to add your chair as a kind of another sponsor, just making sure that they are approving of what you're doing. So you click on this personnel wizard and it'll walk you through a bunch of options, and then you can find your chair's name. And for your chair, the percent effort, maybe put in 10%. It's not their kind of full-time job, but they're gonna do something. So just give them a little bit of the effort. And this is really more for funding and stuff, it's not a huge deal. You do need to click CV